Monday, everybody, and welcome back to the Couchside Judges. I'm Scott Fontana. Follow me on Twitter at Scott_Fontana.
And I'm Dan Urban. Follow me at the Dan Urban. Follow the podcast at Couchside Judges. And subscribe to us wherever you listen.
And if you like this show, it's about time to give us the 5-star review that we have deserved.
And as always, we talk judging in MMA, so you should read the scoring criteria any way you can find it.
Yeah, Google it especially. That's probably the best way, right?
Yes.
Now, Dan, I shared this with you this week. I did acquire the most recent language, the most up-to-date language for the ABC criteria.
I did get a chance to glance over it. I wanted to dive into it and see the exact changes in there, but I didn't get a chance to do that.
I believe it is extremely slight.
Like, I noticed some white space missing at a brief glance.
Well, they're things that were condensed.
Yeah.
Is really a lot of it. A lot of its presentation is different than that document that we've been referencing for forever. Yeah. The originally approved one that you can find by Googling. It's really just not a whole lot different by and large. So, it's the fact that we've been referencing an old document isn't necessarily like archaic.
No.
Yeah, everything's okay. But yeah, we will. We're gonna find a way to get that up for fans of this show, listeners of this show, people who are interested in that kind of thing. We'll work on some things.
Yeah, we will.
But that's not really the big thing to be talking about right now, Dan. And honestly, not even the fights from Saturday night are the big thing to be talking about. It's what happened, I guess, a little before and then a little after the fights. Same kind of thing. We're really, because of course there was revealed earlier Saturday in an apparent miscommunication between UFC staff and T-Mobile Arena staff that Jon Jones will be facing Cyril Gane for what will be vacant heavyweight title. It is now the vacant heavyweight title because Francis Ngannou, the former champion, has been stripped of it in light of the fact that the UFC is allowing him to pursue his free agent dreams unimpeded.
Good for him.
He has been allowed to walk. He will ostensibly try to find more money than the UFC was offering, which who knows what that could be. It could be maybe in the 8-figure range if he's able to land such a deal.
Okay, good for him.
Yes.
That's wild.
That for a man of his story, we all kind of know his story. If you're listening to this podcast, you're hardcore enough that you probably know Francis Ngannou's background. Goes without saying. He has made something of himself in the world. Good for him.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. And I look forward to seeing what that destination is as he takes the lineal heavyweight championship along with him. Right, Dan?
Yep. Scott tried explaining this to me about, I kind of get it, but it seems like a silly concept to me. I whatever.
The concept of lineal championships, yeah. We don't have to go into that too deep, but just in general, like, what are your thoughts kind of when you hear that one Francis Ngannou has been allowed to walk, the heavyweight champion of the world has been allowed to just leave the UFC?
The UFC is unwilling to, I'm not even going to say unwilling to pay him. It just seems like they're unwilling to let him venture outside the UFC like they did Conor in boxing.
Well, it sounds
like
it sounds like part of what this was that the UFC was offering X amount of money and their side was saying, well, we want more, and also we want to be able to, like you're saying, pursue boxing, and that's not really jiving with everything that the UFC is. I don't know what the details are entirely. Everything I'm getting is from other reports, right? I don't have inside man on this or anything, but yeah, it just seems like his side wanted things and the UFC wasn't going to budge on them. It's like, here's the amount of money we'll give you. It's the most we can do. This is great. If you don't like it, tough nuggets. And he said, okay, we'll move on.
Yeah, but I'm thinking they probably would have ponied up some more money. They just weren't willing to budge on letting him go fight Tyson Fury.
I mean, it's hard to say. Who knows?
That's what I'm thinking.
They can make money on this too. Sometimes people just won't figure out a way to. People cut off their nose to spite their face.
Okay.
Do you know that phrase?
I just started thinking of Punahele Soriano.
What? What does that have to do with anything?
Well, because he was covering just the side of his face.
Oh. Yes,
despite the front of his face.
You are a funny man, sir. What about this heavyweight championship fight now between Jon Jones and Cyril Gane?
Honestly, it's not the one I wanted. It was the one I wanted for Jones originally. I thought it would be the most interesting matchup. until we saw what Francis Ngannou did on the ground to Gane. And then I flipped back to saying, well, I'd rather see Ngannou versus Jones. But nonetheless, I'm still very excited to see John Jones at heavyweight.
You got an early reaction of how you think this will go, or not going?
I think John Jones is going to win.
Okay.
With his wrestling.
All right.
Yeah. Like I've said this before, and I still believe this. I think he kind of got bored at light heavyweight and wanted to just test himself with other guys' strengths instead of just using his strength.
I do think there's probably an element of truth to that. I don't know how much or not, but yeah, he certainly looked like someone who could have done one thing, and then he said, "Well, I'm not gonna. I just don't feel like doing that."
Yeah,
and I always thought that was really stupid. But not every decision that John Bones Jones has made in the last 12 years or so has been the smartest decision. I think that's fair to say. But what's that?
I'm curious to see if he's going to be built like his brothers.
No, because he's still going to have the chicken legs.
Okay.
Right. Probably. Maybe they'll have a little more meat on him, but he doesn't have a whole lot of calf is really where it is.
Yeah, it kind of gets stretched thin there.
Yeah. Is that better or worse for calf kicks? I feel like it's worse.
Well, there's less meat there.
Yeah, but it's less about the meat. It's more about the nerve.
Smaller target, but there's less protection.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you're trying to shut down the nerve. I don't think the meat has to do with it.
Well,
I'm sure it's part of it.
If there's more meat around the nerve.
Sure. I mean, I guess. I don't know. I am not a physiologist.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Just in case anyone was wondering.
Yeah. Thank you for clarifying.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate that. At least me. I don't know about the other listeners. I'm sure some of them probably knew, but maybe not all of them did. Anyway, we're going to move on, though, to those fights from Saturday night. Not a whole lot to really talk about as far as kind of stories coming off of this, but I will say, we saw Sean Strickland go in there again. Consecutive main events, fight night main events. It's technically the last time the UFC had an event, he was the headliner. That was a month ago, so it's a little different.
Opposite bookends, right?
Was that? Yeah.
End in the beginning.
Mm-hmm. He is the Omega and the Alpha.
All right.
So he is the Alpha in this case. But yeah, he gets the win here over Nassourdine Imavov. The question I have for you, though, is this.
Mm-hmm.
Because we get a lot of Sean Strickland bravado, a lot of Sean Strickland strangeness, and, talking about having these homicidal thoughts. He wants to go out there and he wants to murder somebody in the cage. Does he fight like somebody who is attempting to murder his opponent?
No, he doesn't. Well, no. For the most part, no.
No, he doesn't.
He did show some emotion in there today, like anger, and it played into his fighting.
Do you mean in the cage or?
Yeah, in the cage. He was angry about Imavov grabbing the gloves, and like the first exchange after that, he threw some heavy was
Yeah, but then
he was trying to kill him, and then he's like, "Oh, well, relax.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not get crazy."
Yeah, that's true. Got to save the crazy for outside
yes.
the cage. and to be clear, I would actually favor this as far as if I was the coach of this fighter, I would prefer him to fight smart in there. I want him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want him to fight like he's a psychopathic maniac.
Mm-hmm.
The closest thing we got was him basically having a death wish and standing up with Alex Pereira longer than he really should have, which was about half a round.
Yeah,
that was ill-advised. But
that was weird because they said in the Cannonier fight he didn't take any risks. And then in this fight, they were saying, "No, he's taking a lot more risks. He needs to get his chin in there."
It was definitely it was a more engaging fight. This was absolutely a more entertaining fight than the first one. I don't think this was a barn-burner by any stretch. It's not like this would have been. There has been one UFC event this year. This was not the fight of the year.
This
still wasn't.
Yeah, this one's wide open for fight of the year.
Yeah.
One event in.
I guess I would just because it's very hard to see contenders rise up to the championship level, especially if they're primarily strikers, and not be finishing other fighters that are at the top or in the top mix, right? Typically, if they're riding like the wave of like dominant decisions or generally decisions and things like that, they're taking it down, they're pounding them out, they're cruising down there.
He got a takedown.
He did get a takedown. I understand that, but you know what I'm saying here, sir. He is not kind of putting together the resume that says he is bound for championship glory. So the question I would ask for you, because the difference maker would be he probably needs to start finishing guys on the feet, or become a dominant wrestler. I'd say the former is probably more likely. Will he ever find his power against top-level middleweights? Do you think he's going to or not?
Just start knocking dudes out?
Even get one. I mean, he hasn't gotten close to any of them.
No, I don't think so. He's a marathon guy. He's going to just kind of outwork you.
Yeah.
Fight smart.
It doesn't really get you to the top, though.
I mean, eventually it has to.
Well, either it has to or it doesn't.
They run out. I mean,
I'll give you that.
As far as running out of, guys.
Well, yeah, that's how he almost got there, was because they were out of guys.
Like, here's the thing. Is he going to be the John Fitch?
No.
Is that kind of what you're getting at?
No.
The stand-up John Fitch?
No, because he first off, he just lost last month.
Right, that's what. He just lost. But that's what. If he's going to get back there, that's how.
Actually, he went 1-2 last year.
Actually, he's not going to finish guys. He's not a finisher.
So what you're saying is, no, he is not going to find his power against top-level middleweight.
No.
Okay.
I mean, when's the last time he even finished somebody?
He finished Brandon Allen about almost like 2.5 years ago.
Okay.
Allen's solid. It was TKO second round.
He also fights like a maniac. That's a guy who fights like a maniac.
Well, yeah, there you go.
So he probably got caught.
He needs someone else to go in there and be the actual homicidal thoughts guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leave themselves just wide open.
Yep. Yeah, there you go. Which, again, I'm not even criticizing. I think that's smart. I just think it's goofy to go out there and be like, man, I would really like to be on the other side of somebody dying at my hands in the cage. And, like, to go out there and fight like that, like, dude, just either fight different or drop it. Just be like, man, I'm going to be the guy who's going to be smart. He likes to call himself white trash. I'm going to be the smartest white trash fighter ever. Just go out there and, like, adopt that.
He would be champ already if it wasn't for bad judging.
That's true. He did say so. Bad judging.
Bad judging got him knocked out
shut up.
by Pajeda.
Shut up. Yeah, there you go. I would say bad judgment did get him knocked out of that.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
Horrible judgment on his part. Anyway, the only other thing I really wanted to get to before we more or less get to contested rounds is there was, I guess, a pivotal fight on this card in the women's bantamweight division between Raquel Pennington and Ketlin Vieira. Went to a split decision. Ended up going the way of Raquel Pennington here. She obviously has a very lopsided loss to the current champion, Amanda Nunes. Nunes has other options in, potentially a trilogy fight against Juliana Pena. Potentially, you're kind of giving me the scrunchy face here. I'm just laying out the groundwork. I'm not saying it's what I want, but that's one fight. And then the other fight potentially could be Valentina Shevchenko in another trilogy fight. Where does Raquel Pennington fit in this trio of women for potentially the Lioness?
I would rather do Pena and Pennington. I don't think they've ever fought before.
Wait, so you're saying you want those two to fight?
I would rather Pennington and Pena.
So you want them to decide the contender? Oh, okay.
In the meantime, Valentina versus Amanda.
Okay. All right, so you're just booking kind of the, I guess, the 4-woman tournament here.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I can get behind that.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really have a whole lot to add. I think that was a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah. They're not going to do that. No one ever listens. If there's an easy path to something, don't take it. It's just the way. That's the UFC. UFC. I don't know what that was.
Scott was doing the jingle for the new UFC.
Yeah.
Opener.
Just rip it from NBC. That'd be good.
They had, you know what I noticed? They had some old school graphics.
They did
tonight. Yeah.
I must not have been paying attention.
Opening of the prelims.
Okay, I missed that. I tuned in the prelims like just in time for the walkouts.
They had Hoist Gracie highlights.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's fun.
They're really buying into that
30th anniversary. Yeah. Cool. Well, that's our show. No. And real quick, even before we get to contested rounds, we should note the number of rounds that the judges agreed upon. Dan, you want to handle the stats there? Yeah,
the judges turned in 20 rounds, 15 in which they were unanimous on, so at a 75%. One of those rounds was a 10-9, 10-8 split.
75%, pretty average. That's roughly in line with what you'll get year to year.
Yeah, starting the year off.
Starting the year perfectly average.
There we go.
Which is fine. It's better than not, right? Well, let's go to contested rounds. Like we said, we do only have 5 contested rounds in this case. 2 of them came in that Pennington-Vieira fight. 29-28 both ways. Again, 2 for Pennington, 1 for Vieira. But this ended up being the phenomena that I call alternative decision, which is where one fighter loses the fight on the scorecards. But when you look at each of the rounds, the losing fighter actually won technically the round on 2 of the 3 cards in 2 of the 3 rounds.
Yeah, and then that third round is usually unanimous the other
It will
way.
always be unanimous
Yeah.
the other way, correct.
Yeah.
The winner of the fight will be won because one round was definitely for the other fighter as far as all 3 judges. Yeah, so it's a very strange thing. It's one of those things where like people might complain and be like, oh, the judges, da, da, da. It's like literally more judges than not thought that Vieira won round 1, and more judges than not thought Vieira won round 3. It just didn't end up being the right ones at the right time to make that happen. It's just a quirk of the system, right? But let's talk about those rounds. Let's start with round 1, Dan. What happened in this round?
Yeah, this was a good stand-up battle. Pennington landed a couple leg kicks. Vieira landed solid left right away, and it looked like Pennington's right eye started to swell just a tad bit right away. Throughout the round, Vieira is landing heavier with the left hook and right straight, while Pennington is landing mostly strong jabs, I guess. A couple good right hands in there. I thought it was a very competitive round, but I like it for Vieira 10-9.
I also had it for Vieira. I thought it was not like a crazy good round for Vieira, but I liked her offense pretty well in this one. I wasn't waffling too much on it, but I do totally see where Pennington had some good offense in this round, enough that one judge could give it the other way, right?
Yeah, it was close. I just favored the reactions Vieira was getting on her lands.
I think I did too. So, that was why I went for Vieira, just like you, just like judges Derek Cleary and Sal D'Amato. It was Judge Mike Bell who had this one for Pennington. And as I understand it, this was also the majority score among media members, because I went in and not just looking at the 29-28s that everybody was given, mostly for Vieira actually in this fight, but I went back and dug up as much as I could about how each of them scored rounds, because I feel like that's more important.
Yeah,
especially in a fight like this.
Rounds, yeah.
The individual rounds, and yes, more of them saw it the same way as you and I did, but a lot of them were just like, yeah, I hate to be a judge on that one. So, there's a good acknowledgement of it.
I hate to be a judge scoring this round. I hate to be a judge scoring that round.
Yeah.
I hate to be a judge scoring this round. Robbery.
What about round 3, though?
Yeah, round 3. Good fun start to this round. I thought both were landing some heavy shots to the head. I think Vieira, again, is landing a little bit heavier. She, forces Pennington all the way, to the back, forces Pennington's back to the fence with a right hand.
Mm-hmm.
And in the clinch, it's really competitive, probably favoring Pennington a little bit. She's landing some good knees to the body while stuck on the fence. Vieira's throwing some, punches to the body, a little bit to the head. They keep getting to this clinch position. And like I said, for the most part, Pennington's probably winning this with her knees. But then Vieira starts throwing some elbows. And I thought these were pretty solid. Very close round, but I think Vieira wins this round 10-9. Those punches, when the final sequence, for 45 seconds, is Vieira's on the back with the waist lock and really not doing anything, maybe throwing a little above Storley knees, while Pennington's throwing those weird punches behind her, kind of. I didn't think that much was really going on there.
I don't think those are scoring much at all, yeah.
They're
not going to end the fight.
I like Vieira for the elbows when she started throwing those in the clinch, 10-9.
I went the other way, though, and again, it really had basically nothing to do with those punches she's throwing behind. They I feel like they just look good, but if you give it
I don't know if they look good.
Well, I think they look good in the sense that, like, hey, she's trying and the other woman is just holding on to her, right? She's just got kind of a body lock. But yeah, if you give it like literally any thought, you realize, oh, she's not going to knock her out with that. Like, it's not going to win her anything. So yeah, I don't put much on them at all. I did think, though, I thought Pennington had some really good lands early on, and that was really where
she did have good lands.
I thought that was kind of where she ended up winning it, and I didn't see enough of what Vieira did to overtake that. Is what it was. And very close, though. Super, super close. I thought this was much closer actually than round 1. And I will say, just again, I'm going to try and do this a lot more often when there's let's say judging uproar or a split decision or something like that. I'm going to try and kind of dig into especially when people start to cite, oh, look at all the media scores. Everybody. Yeah.
I'm familiar with that.
Yeah, of course. You know that all too well. Hey, I've been there too. But I want to kind of dig into like, okay, well, why are we getting there? Like, what is it like? Are the media all seeing every round the same way? Because I suspect there will be times where it really isn't as united, and that actually manifested with Patty Pimblett and Jared Gordon as well. when I dug into that one. But this round, while Vieira was the main score by a lot of them, there were several other people. Luke Thomas stood out as one of the main ones who saw it the same way as I did for Pennington. And also Derek Cleary was the one who had Pennington on the only card that actually counted for Pennington. It was Bell and D'Amato saw it your way for Vieira.
Did you announce the judges for round one?
I did.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I did.
Couldn't remember.
No, don't worry. I did get that one. Sometimes I forget, but this one I remembered.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's just, again, we're talking about a very strange quirk here where Vieira does not get the win, despite the fact that obviously when you're judging a fight, you're judging that 5-minute round, right?
Yeah.
But you're not deciding the winner based on the majority of people winning that round, which is it's just such a weird quirk.
Yeah.
I know
Kinda
it's the way it
weird.
works. It has to do with two individuals choosing the winner instead of the other third one, right? But man, it's like, man, you can really look at this and say, hey, even the judges kind of thought that Vieira won.
Yeah, I mean, in that sense too, but then you can do Pennington won 5 scores to where Vieira got 4 scores.
Yeah.
That's another way.
No, it's true. But I would bet that more often than not, the people who are sitting at home mad about the decision in an alternative decision, or I would say this, in an alternative decision, it's more likely that, just from kind of looking at this myself over the last few years, it's more likely that people would agree with the person who lost the decision.
Yeah, probably.
It almost seems like it's an easier way to get the right winner if we went the other way. I think people would be more happy with it if they did. I'm not suggesting this would change at all, but I do think that's one way we could just start to turn things just around just a little bit to get maybe a little bit of people off their backs. Just make an aggregate round winner of each individual little 5-minute fight. Add those up at the end. Who wins those? I feel like
then we wouldn't. I mean, 10-8s wouldn't even come into play then.
Well, that's true. That is true. That's where it starts to get a little trickier. But it's just a fascinating quirk. I'm not even trying to say we should change it.
Yeah.
It's just, I like to think about these things. They only happen it's anywhere from 3 to 5 times a year in the UFC, more or less. I don't think there were that many last year. I think there were probably only 2 or 3. Yeah, here's one already. Here's a new one. But we will move on. This is the only fight that there was any controversies, probably being overly harsh on this one, but any sort of, I guess, curiosity with the scoring here. Let's move on to, again, we'll go back to the main event actually for this one. Sean Strickland, again, got the win over Nassourdine Imavov. 2 49-46s and a 48-47 all for Strickland. Round 2 is the only split round here. So what happened?
This was a round spent mostly on the feet, just about like the rest of the entire fight. Because Strickland does get that.
You said he had that takedown, sir.
Strickland had a brief takedown. It was a nice one. It was a body lock. He tripped him. Whatever. Back to the meaningful stuff. Strickland's starting to put some oomph into his punches this round. As I mentioned earlier, he doesn't always do that. He kind of just I don't want to say 50%, but just, you know what I'm saying. He's trying to hit someone hard in this round. Is where I'm getting at. You feel me, Scott?
No.
Okay. Yeah, I struggled through that.
That's all right.
Anyway, I find this a very, very close round. Imavov lands some good shots of his own. I think Strickland's getting the better reactions, and the ones he did land, they're very hard. He's throwing at these really awkward angles, really strange shots coming in and landing, getting good reactions. Very end of the round, Imavov lands a nice elbow. Kind of off balances Strickland. Potentially wobbled him, probably not. I didn't think so. Very close round. I think it's 10-9 Strickland.
I just thought that the harder shots are being landed ultimately by Imavov here, and that the volume appeared to be much closer than it did. I don't know what, they were showing numbers up on the screen, but they didn't always seem to really match what I thought I was watching.
Okay.
So, I try to just ignore those as best you can.
Mm.
I did think that Imavov is actually I thought he had a better round here. I did.
All right.
Yeah, it's really kind of what it comes down to, and this is very close. So I don't have a
I didn't even know you
opinion.
disagreed.
I did. I went the other way.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Scotty disagrees.
48-47, and I had I went with the outscore of Imavov, same as Judge Mike Bell. You saw it the same as Derek Cleary, who I accidentally misspelled in my little outline here, but I'm going to fix that because I don't want to say it's not nice. The word that comes up when I misspelled was not nice.
It wasn't clearly.
No, it wasn't clearly.
It's
More like Beverly Cleary. You remember the children's author Beverly Cleary? Because my kids are reading they're reading a book right now. Did she write
the Berenstain Bears?
No, I don't believe so.
Oh, okay.
No, she wrote a book called The Mouse and the Motorcycle that we're reading to my second grader right now.
Okay.
And yeah, we're enjoying it. It's about a mouse and
motorcycle?
And a motorcycle. Yeah. But Beverly Cleary. I wonder if there's any relation to Derek Cleary. Probably not. Good chance there's not. But there's another Cleary out there.
Do you think...
Clearly, there's another Cleary.
Yeah, but that's what I was getting at. Do you think when Bruce Buffer writes up his cards, it just autocorrects to clearly? And he's just reading it clearly?
I think he's on autopilot.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he knows the right thing to do and can't stop himself. I believe that about him. I think it's more or less we've gone too far. I've hit a certain age and I'm not correcting myself. You're going to have to live with it. But yeah, so yeah, you saw it the same way as Derek Cleary and Sal D'Amato, and I saw it as Mike built it. But nonetheless, doesn't really matter. I had Strickland up going into the 5th round. You had Strickland up going into the 5th round. Imavov won the 5th round. Didn't matter. End of story. Let's move on. 2 more rounds here. Let's go to our 8-9 split on this one. That was Matush Rebecki, I believe is the way you're supposed to pronounce it. It's spelled Rebecki, but I believe they said Rebisky.
They were saying Ron Besky.
Ron Besky?
Ron Besky, the new Paul Harris, is a pretty fierce guy.
Yeah. Yeah, he looked pretty fierce in there in totally running away with the fight against Nick Fiore. 30-27 twice and a 30-26. It was round 1 where we're talking about the potential 8 here. So why are we talking about that?
Well, obviously he wins the round, no doubt. On the feet, he is throwing some serious heat. 100%, maybe more into every single shot.
Good fastballs.
Yeah, solid kicks to the body and legs. I just don't think he has the 3Ds. I think he's not dominant as Fiore's landing his own shots and doing his own damage. Ron Besky. How do you say? I don't even know. It's just so strange.
You said Ron Besky.
Ron Besky is what they were saying, but I'm reading it as Rebecki.
As I believe I said last week, Polish names trip me up. I don't know the pronunciation types. I actually want to learn this. I'm gonna ask my brother-in-law's girlfriend how this works. She's gonna teach me how to pronounce things.
As I was saying, I just don't think he's dominant. Fiore's coming back with his own offense. He's not really not returning all that often.
He's not really not returning all that often?
That's a double negative, right?
It sure is.
Yep, but it gets to where I need to go.
All right.
Like I said, the eye of Ron Besky is he's busted up. Duration, that's kind of not there. Ron Besky landing heavy, like I said, but it's just good damage. Good, solid 10-9 round for Ron Besky. But I don't think we get to the 8.
Yeah, this doesn't feel like the type of 8 that they're looking for in Las Vegas right now. Is kind of what it comes down to. I don't know that it's a very heavy one even anyway. I feel like I'd almost go an 8 if we had this round 2 years ago before Jan Blachowicz, another Polish name that I can say apparently. Probably not. I'm probably saying it wrong too. I believe it's actually Blachowicz.
I don't know.
Anyway,
I can't help you there.
No, I don't expect. Nonetheless, before that fight against Israel Adesanya. I said that name right.
You took a week off from saying it that way, though.
I did. Yeah. Honestly, I'm trying hard. It's inconsistent. I'm trying to make it flow so that I don't have to try hard to get it right.
Honestly, I like it when you say it the other way. Better.
Which way?
Adesanya.
The way everyone says it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I like that better.
Well, then I'm not going to say it that way, to spite you.
Gotta be a hipster with it.
It's not a hipster. It's the way he says his own name.
I don't buy it.
Easy, Urban. Anyway, I had a 9 here too. Yeah, the moral of the story is I would go 9 here anyway. I would love a world where this is an 8, but I think that world is where the CSJ criteria takes over.
Yeah, it's just a solid 9.
A solid 9, just a real good 9 that you wouldn't mistake the other way. And that would seem to be the same way as Sal D'Amato and Genichiro Kamijo saw it. It was Tony Weeks who went the 8 here, and I tell you, I'm always surprised when I see Tony Weeks give an 8 anyway, because he was resistant to them for so long, at least statistically. I don't know how he felt personally, but look at the data, he was not giving the 8s, and all of a sudden we're seeing 8s all over the place, and yeah, it's definitely more of a mix now from Judge Weeks. One more round here, sir, and we're still in the prelims. Javid Basharat got the win over Mateus, excuse me. That was Mateus was the last one. Now it's Mateus Oh God, I'm gonna mess up this one too. Mendonce, right?
Mindonk, I thought.
No. I believe it's a soft C. Mendonce, I think.
Okay.
I don't know. I probably messed it up anyway. But yeah, 230-27s and a 29-28. We're only talking about round one as the discrepancy here in being a perfect card or not for Basharat. So what's happened in round one?
All right, Madonch, throwing.
Just make your own name up.
Yep.
Sure.
Throwing lots of leg kicks. And Basharat really kind of just throwing some jabs. Seems like both guys are missing quite a bit early. But then Madonch does land that leg kick that spins Basharat all the way around. And throughout the round, they're both landing some heavy shots. But I do think Basharat starts to find his range, and he kind of is edging ahead of it. And then that final 20 seconds where they're in that scramble on the ground, and Basharat just landed some big shots to the head. I think he puts a stamp on it with those ground strikes and then ends the round with a nice head kick. I think this is a Basharat round, 10-9.
Yeah, it felt like a Basharat round, too. For all the reasons you were saying, too. I had these thoughts as well. Is it crazy to go to Mendonce here? I mean, I don't know. Maybe not. I don't see it a very strong case.
Yeah, I like Basharat.
It's not the worst. It's not the worst thing here. Judge Adelaide Bird was the one who saw it for Mendonce. It was Mike Bell and Ron McCarthy who saw it the same way we did. It's not the worst round, but I feel like, because we're gonna try and track these a little more often as far as throughout the year, like what rounds maybe we had a harder time seeing.
I don't know if this one would make that.
I think we got to let's mark it down at least. We got to at least kind of
put a star next to it.
We got to reference point this because at the end of the year, we'll probably go back to these and maybe revisit them, right?
Yeah, I mean he does. That one kick was a good kick.
I'm not saying it's a bad score. I think if there's a bad score, I'm going to say it's a bad score.
Okay.
I don't think it's a bad score. I just think that's it looked to me anyway, from my view, which is at home watching on my television in my basement, I thought it was a much better score for Basharat.
Yeah, I like Basharat better.
So, but that is it. That is all the rounds we had from our first UFC venture of the year. We had 6 finishes, though. More finishes than rounds. That's always fun. 5 of these were KOs. 1 was a sub, and 3 of them ended in the first round. Of the 6, what was your favorite?
Well, I bet you think I'm going to pick Alan Nascimento with a standing rear naked choke over.
One would think.
Over Carlos Hernandez.
Yes, you would think that.
Not going to go that way, although it was sick.
Now who's the hipster?
I'm going with Umar Nurmagomedov with a quick left.
Out of nowhere left.
That I don't even know where that came from.
No one did. No one had any clue.
Knocking out Raoni Barcelos. I believe that was the first time he was finished or knocked out anyway. Barcelos.
I couldn't confirm or deny that.
He only had 3 losses coming in, so I would think so.
Well, maybe all 3 of those were knockouts, huh?
It was crazy. Mm-hmm. What did he throw? A knee followed by a left, just right on the button. Smashes him with a hammer fist and feels bad immediately.
Yeah, he immediately was like trying to stop the head from moving. Yeah, it was good. There was some tenderness there.
Yeah, that was awesome. But what was yours?
It was pretty much the other one where a guy got flattened out in the main card, and that was Danny Gay, who just starched Damon Jackson, ended up doing the almost the Crow Cop thing with the knee, almost got stuck. It didn't get stuck. That was great. I hope he didn't actually suffer any damage there at all, too. Other than, yes, we know brain damage comes along with a knockout. But and I wish him and his brain well very much. But yeah, this was a walk-off punch in round 2. He didn't do the accidental, or not accidental, but he didn't do the follow-up shot that he felt bad about. He just punched him, saw he was out, and he's like, nah, I'm good. I'm gonna collect my $50K because I'm Danny Gay.
You know who did not feel bad about follow-up shots?
Who's that?
Dan Henderson.
Dan Henderson.
Or Rampage Jackson.
No.
Over Vandalay.
No.
They did not feel bad whatsoever.
No. It was a different time.
Dan Henderson went off the top rope.
God did. But then Bisping showed him.
Yeah.
Paced him up in the rematch. Although Bisping got himself hurt in that one too, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
I think it was a good start to the year.
I think so too. It's solid as far as from the fights perspective. It's still been an awful month for the UFC. It's really been an awful several months for the UFC as far as outside the fighting stuff. So there's that.
Yeah, but I'm not focused on that. It's we got to get to the fights. Let's be positive.
You can be. I'm being real here. I keep it real, and you want to know what I'm thinking? I'm on social media. I'll go into full detail on there. That's fine.
I'm going with the fighters.
That's fine.
Let's be on the fighter side.
I am on the fighter's side. I'm also on the side of the women who get slapped in the face.
Yeah, well, no, me too. It's never cool.
I know. I know. I'm not saying you. But anyway, we can move on to close out the show with UFC 283 talk. Because it's next week. We have a pay-per-view next week. And guess what? We had to pay $5 more this time than we did last time.
And next year we'll have to pay another $5 more.
No, it'll be 10 by then.
Okay. just make it a flat 100 because 90 is so weird.
Yeah.
90 is a weird price. Just make it 100.
Well, 85 would be weirder. Let's face it.
Yeah, that's true.
That'd be way stranger. Yeah. But it wouldn't be 85. It'd be $84.99. You're only paying $79.99 this year, so it's not even $80.
Do you remember when it was $5
If you live somewhere where there's
cheaper?
no tax, you don't pay anything. It's over that.
It used to be $5 cheaper if you didn't buy HD version.
I think it was $10.
Oh, it was actually $10.
Yeah, it was
Wow.
10. It was because it would be like I want to say it was like $55 to buy UFC 100 with Brock Lesnar and Frank Mir the rematch. That was $55 for the HD, and it was $45 for not. But we splurged for the HD. I remember doing that.
HD.
I don't know why that one just jumped out in my mind because I remember being at my buddy's house and I think we were all passing around money, and they had just been in Vegas or something like that, and someone had like a bunch of 20s, so we were having fun fanning them out and playing around with money.
All right.
So that's what you do when you're in your early 20s. You play with money. Anyway, 2 title fights next week in Brazil. Glover Teixeira versus Jamal Hill in the UFC's latest try to get a light heavyweight champion crown.
I don't like this as the main event.
Can I should acknowledge too,
Yeah.
at this moment, there is no heavyweight or light heavyweight champion in the UFC.
Yeah, exactly.
No one has these belts.
Right. That's crazy.
It's ridiculously weird.
I think this should be the co-main. But outside of that, I'm excited for this fight.
I think it's a great fight. I like this fight. I think it's actually the most interesting of the fights that we've had booked in the last few months to try and get I shouldn't say that. Glover Teixeira versus Yuri Prohaska rematch. That was easily king.
Mm-hmm.
But of all the other permutations that we've had, either could have been or had or now have, I like this one the best from a entertainment standpoint. I like Teixeira here. Teixeira is always fun and interesting. He sometimes he's not in it, but then he's in it again later, and it just makes for compelling entertainment.
Can he survive that first rocking?
Yeah, and Jamal Hill's capable of giving it too.
Yeah.
He is a very talented striker.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a very well-rounded fighter. I think Teixeira is a much more well-rounded fighter than he is, so I think he would push him in other ways that Jamal Hill just has not really been pushed before. So I do think this is compelling. I really like this one a lot, actually. So no, I mean I understand why you're saying maybe the Davidson Figueiredo, Brandon Moreno #4 would be a more interesting main event from your perspective anyway. I disagree. I do think this actually is more interesting.
You'd rather
to
have
me.
this? Okay.
Yes, because it's the 4th fight.
But
I know they're always entertaining.
the first fight was.
I know they're always
outside
entertaining.
of the first fight, the other two were very entertaining.
Yes,
The
even
first
fight,
one he was entertaining, but
it was entertaining, but obviously
You know what
we
I'm
both
getting at,
agree,
yeah.
that there was a clear winner here that just didn't go the right way
because of fouls.
Yeah, fouls and
others.
and then that 5th round that I think probably should have been pretty much unanimous and wasn't.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, we are here and we got plenty more entertaining fights out of it, so it was a happy accident. I guess. I disagree. It's not that I mean, if this was its own pay-per-view, I'd be pretty okay with that too. But I actually like the headliner here.
But I do have questions.
Even
that
though
I
it's
think
weird,
you
that
might be able to answer.
What do you
me.
got? What do you got for me?
What's the deal with Brandon Moreno?
He likes Legos.
Right, I get that, but with James Krause,
He loves Funko Pops.
Me too.
I know you do.
What's
Him
the
and
deal
James Krause. Oh no, he moved. I believe he's in Texas. I want to say with. Is he with Saif Saud?
Okay.
I want to say he's there. He definitely went. I'm almost positive he went to Texas to train for this one. I can't recall off the top of my head. I'm trying to Google as quick as I possibly can who he went to train with. But yeah, I want to say it was Saif Saud.
Okay. Good camp regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So.
No, I mean he had to kind of scramble to make this happen. So I don't know what that does for his ability to prepare. I don't know. Yes, he has been training with Saif Saud. I did get that right.
Okay.
Fortis MMA.
All right.
Great place to land, like you said. So there you go. Hopefully that answers your question.
It does. I'm still gonna. I think Davidson's gonna end this quadrilogy. Is it the quadrilogy or is it a real different? There's a different word.
Tetralogy.
No, that's
Is
stupid.
actually
That is stupid.
I know. I used to call it quadrilogy too, but then I found out it's tetralogy.
Our language is so stupid.
Yeah.
Tetralogy. What is even a tetralogy? How do you even come up with that word? Moving on.
We don't need to dwell on it. This again being in Brazil, first time we've been seeing the UFC in Brazil since literally a week after the pandemic shut everything down, pretty much.
Yeah.
So this is weird territory. We haven't talked about Brazilian judges in a while, but let's remind our listeners of the names: Guilherme Bravo, Halison Pontes, David Terrell. These are kind of the most experienced judges specific to Brazil that we have seen. Will they be there? I don't know. I'm going to assume so. I think there's a lot of association over the years that Brazil had with kind of this hometown, judging that they would get in Brazil, even though very frequently it was like American or at least traveling judges who would score fights that people would be, confused about or saying, oh, it was because it's in Brazil. I don't think that's the case. I mean, I can't speak to what it was. My data doesn't go back that far, but like, if you look at it, these judges are pretty much in agreement with a lot of other judges, and I think they do a real good job. So I'm not that worried about it. Guilherme Bravo actually works in California sometimes too, or has worked in California. I don't believe he has been seen at UFC or Bellator events in California since the pandemic began. But yeah, I think there's some solid judging. You read Guilherme Bravo's book, I believe. Yeah,
I did.
How many pages is that book, by the way?
Not long.
It's very short,
It's
right?
like, I want to say less than 100.
I need to start reading it too, because I also did claim that book, and I'll have to start moving that up my list. I've got a few books now. I got some for Christmas, so.
Oh,
Mhm.
I don't read very fast, but I was able to read that in 2 days.
I'm not a fast reader either.
You could probably do it in a day, though.
Yeah, but I'm honest, and this is no disrespect to Judge Bravo here, but I am very interested in reading my Bo Jackson book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Huge Bo Jackson fan. The
love
dude,
Bo
the dude is basically like a myth that we watched live,
Okay.
and it's wild. Everything about him is so cool. Anyway, neither here nor there. By the way, he probably would have been a great fighter if he wanted to be, because he can do everything. Bo knows fighting.
Bo knows everything.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah.
That's what I just said. Anyway, a lot of fights here, actually, I'm interested in. Up on the main, well, really all of the main card I kind of like here. Gilbert Burns, Neil Magny, 170 pounds. I like that fight.
That's a good one.
That's a fun one. Jessica Andrade and Lauren Murphy. I'm very curious to see if Jessica Andrade can get another win over a very top level 125er and basically assert herself as really she's probably the next best fighter at 2 weight classes, and she really probably ought to be able to get another shot at Zhang Wei Li at some point.
She wins this one?
Yeah, but this is at 125.
So?
Yeah, true. Who cares? Who cares? They just move these fighters all over the place anyway. And really, at this point, everyone's talking about at 115. It's like, oh, is it actually Amanda Lemos, who last year Jessica Andrade beat with the submission of the year standing arm triangle. So there's no reason to say she wouldn't just leapfrog her in the pecking order anyway. Paul Craig, another submission ace against Johnny Walker.
Yeah, it should be a good one.
And it's so weird to look at this and say, well, Paul Craig, he's fighting on the undercard of a fight headlined by Jamal Hill, who he broke the arm of.
It's that 1-1.
Yeah.
That one L, I should say.
Yeah, it's the 1L. I know. Shogun Hua in his final UFC fight.
Sure.
It's probably the last time we'll see him in the UFC. Will we see him fight again? I don't know. But in the UFC, yeah. I would bet that this will be the last time they sign him. So this is his ostensibly final fight against Ihor Potieria. And if I'm not mistaken, and I'm going to make sure I double check this throughout the week, I believe when Shogun leaves here, he will be the last of the Pride Japan veterans to leave the UFC. Because Robbie Lawler did fight in Pride one time, but it was in Nevada. So it doesn't really count as far as I'm concerned.
Arlovsky never fought in Pride?
No, I don't believe he did. He was UFC the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm open to being wrong. Someone correct me, that's fine. But I'm pretty sure he's the last one on the UFC roster. It doesn't mean they're not still fighting, like you said. But and then the other fight deeper on the prelims here: Terrence McKinney against Ismail Bonfim. I will always watch Terrence McKinney fight. I'm very curious to see his climb up the ladder here. I noticed that the odds for this one are like almost pick 'em,
Are they?
which I was surprised about because I have a very high opinion, like we said, of Terrence McKinney. So I wonder what Bonfim's up to. I don't really know much about him. I think he's had a brother on this card too.
Okay.
There's another Bonfim anyway. I'm gonna guess they're.
It's not that common of a name that I'm aware of.
You never.
But
anything else I missed? Citing out these.
Yeah, Jalton Almeida versus Shamil Abdurakhimov.
Yeah,
Almeida is a freak.
He's great. Abdurakhimov has never really been all that entertaining, but
I just like watching Almeida show.
There's a good chance that Almeida will go in there and starch him. I think the odds were pretty heavily in his favor too. The only reason I caught these odds is because I put them in our newspaper in the post. So
yeah, and then we also got RoboCop.
Of course, yeah.
So.
Gregory Rodriguez. Who's he fighting?
Bruno Ferreira.
Okay, because I know his who was his original opponent that got replaced?
It was originally Brad Tavares.
That's right. That was a more interesting fight.
Yeah.
This one less so, but yeah, RoboCop.
Yep.
Called Barack Obama, whatever people like to call him. Yeah.
I never heard that one.
You never heard that?
I don't think they ever.
You have never seen the comparison.
I know. I see it now that you mentioned. I don't know if I've ever heard it before though.
Where have you been? You're on Twitter, dude. How'd you miss that?
I don't know.
I don't know where you've been.
Maybe I did hear. I just forgot. Maybe
he's a great fighter, and I think he's gonna win.
I think he'll win too. All right, that does it for this episode of the Couchside Judges. We'll be back again Monday to break down UFC 283.
283. That's right, sir. Thanks for listening, and have a great week.